Have you ever watched a movie and thought like, this isn't a movie, this is an experience? Now, Kubo is experience. Here's why. Okay, so Kubo and Two Strings is a claymation stop motion film with CGI thrown in, of course. You know, it's not that unheard of. But it's a story about a kid who is on the run. His mother and him ran away from their family who are out to steal his eye. It's really weird, but this kind of off-puttingly out there story, putting that aside, this movie is just, wow, fantastic. From the visuals, which when it comes to claymation and it comes to stop motion, when you put those two together, it really feels like it's there, and it really benefits from that, and it keeps you immersed in it. And when a movie can keep you immersed in it, it highly benefits from that. The only thing that was keeping me distracted was some people in front of me, but other than that, like, if you're watching this movie, you're in it. You can feel like you can touch it, it's there, it's real to you. That's really important to have, especially when it's making a claymation film. So this movie looked great. The soundtrack was really well composed. I don't know exactly who composed it. I'll put a name up there, because why not, right? And it stars Matthew McConaughey, Charlize Theron, George Takei, I think it's Matt Parkinson. I'll put that one up there too. Pretty good cast of voice actors, really defining voices. So this character stood out as far as the personalities, the way they talked, but also just the way it was written. The story itself, although like I said, it did come off as kind of weird at first and kind of just like out there, really benefits from that later on because it takes all these fantasy elements. It almost feels like the good things about like video games like Zelda or Dark Souls or things of that nature, and it takes those elements and twists them into a movie style. Because like, for example, the whole point of this movie is they have to find these 3 pieces of armor and to defeat the bad guy. It's pretty basic, or pretty, you know, simple. But each piece of armor has this different boss type thing to it, or a different challenge. And the first boss, well, I'm not gonna actually spoil it, but one of them is a giant skeleton with swords in its head, and they're looking for a certain sword. And so, you know, when you think about that, it's just really neat, the ideas, that the way they go about it, the execution of these broad ideas are really well done, to a point where it kind of goes from a movie, like I said, to just a story. It's not even just a movie at points. This is a story on its own, and it's like a epic, a self-contained, broad but not large epic. And it really does only focus around these couple characters, and there are other characters to the side that kind of come into play. But the fact that they can take these 3 main characters and flesh them out and twist their stories around, and you know, have different things happen to them that you don't expect. Some things I expect. There was a couple of things where I was like, oh, this is totally going this way, and it went that way. That's great. When that happens, great. But there were a lot of things where I was like, I did not see that coming. That is awesome. Also, the bad guy in this movie totally looks like Grand Moff Tarkin. Like, seriously, throw that out there. And I throw off Grand Moff Tarkin. They look like identical. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a little bit of, like, I was in the movie theater, I'm watching Grand Moff Tarkin pick on some little kid. So that was pretty sweet. Anyways, point is, this movie is definitely worth checking out, and from how much thought, at the end of the credits they showed how they were doing stuff. There was so much like thought and work and process put into this film. I definitely recommend going to see it. And if they don't make back the money, at least don't have a profit, or isn't a success, it's gonna be really disappointing, especially since when you think about it, and this is just a little rant. And again, movies like, you know, Despicable Me and Pixar movies, which deserve the recognition and the success they get. But then there's movies like Minions. Well, Minions isn't a horrible movie. It's like, we made $100 million opening weekend. And if this movie can't make that, it's a real shame, because this movie feels so much more thought through, loved, and while Minions felt more like a cash grab. And that's kind of what they did. They did what they were trying to do. So I really hope with this movie that they get the success they deserve. gets the recognition it deserves, because it really is worth going to see. Anyways guys, let me know if you saw it, what you thought about it, if there's any other movies, claymation style that you love. I personally love Wallace and Gromit, it's one of my 4 favorites. Let me know in the comments below, and don't do drugs.